Hey everyone, this is Isaac
And this is Jackie.
from Nonessential Media, and you are listening to the Beach City CROWS podcast. This podcast is all about our favorite cartoons, mine being Steven Universe.
And mine being Haikyuu.
Just a warning, this episode will feature spoilers for Steven Universe through episode 16.
And spoilers for Haikyuu through episode 8.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy. Welcome back to the Beach City CROWS podcast. I am Isaac, and I will be watching Haikyuu, and with me today is...
I'm Jackie, and I'm going to be watching Steven Universe.
And we actually watched pretty far into each of these shows from the last episode, so we're actually going to split this up into two. But yeah, let's just get right into it.
Yeah. So I think we're going to try and cover the next... for Steven Universe, I'm going to try and cover the next 8 episodes. That would take us from 9 to 16 in this particular episode.
Okay, and then that would put me at episode 8.
Yeah. Just so everyone understands, for those of you that maybe don't know the time for these episodes, it sounds like I'm watching a lot of Steven Universe. I'm not.
It does.
Steven Universe is half episodes, so 11 minutes, and then Haikyuu is your typical half hour, 22 to 24 minutes, if you count opening and ending. So it's actually very close to the same amount of animation that we are devouring right now.
Yes. I feel like just because there's a lot to talk about on Haikyuu, I feel like we should start with Steven Universe.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we can talk a lot about Steven Universe.
There
was some cool stuff. This was my complaint, episode 1, was that felt like it was it's typical Saturday morning cartoon. I didn't feel the overarching plot yet.
There was no, theme.
Yeah, but there are a couple episodes where... in this batch that we just watched, where I felt like that my opinion on that changed a little bit. So we'll talk about. So there's some episodes too that felt a little
Littering?
They felt littering. They felt a little fillerish, and I know I'm sure that the creators don't want to hear that, but that would be the first episode we watched for this episode, which was episode 9, which was the wrestling episode.
Kill me now.
Where Amethyst and Steven Universe become a wrestling duo.
That is the only episode, besides the Uncle Grandpa one, which I'm going to make you watch because you have to.
Oh, no.
They are so filler. It is blatant filler. Anyways, carry on.
I will say that I have one positive thing about this, and that is that what I think they were trying to do was give us a little bit more of Amethyst's character. So it was, this is who she is, this is what she's about. Before, my original impression was that she was a bit of a rebel and a wild child, and you compared her to like a sister for Steven rather than like a parental figure.
Yeah.
And I think this episode really drove it home. But other than that, it just seemed really... maybe it's a fun episode, but right now, I want to know why I'm watching the show.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool episode that, after if I were to finish the show and then go back and watch, and I can maybe appreciate it a little bit more once I've, gotten to know the characters even more.
Yeah.
But I did end up with one question at the end of this episode. Does Steven ever go to school?
No.
Dude, he's living the best, he is living the ideal life of a 13-year-old kid right now.
Yeah, he, does things with aliens. That sounds really bad. He gets to go on missions with aliens, doesn't really know why, but he's having fun doing it, and he doesn't have to go to school. And he doesn't have to live with his god-awful dad. I'm just kidding.
Oh my god, that's terrible. Episode 10... was this the one where he got the lion? I think it is. This is the episode where he got the lion.
Yes, I think.
This is how little I remember about this particular episode. The one thing that I did have one question about was there was a line that said, I think it was Amethyst that said, "My kill, my keep." So explain to me with Gems, because I haven't, as long as it's not, I don't think it'll spoil anything. I think it'll help me understand the show a little bit more. What happens to, because there is an episode later on that kind of explains a little bit about how Gems can kind of regenerate. They go back into their gem and they regenerate. But what was the purpose? Like, what do they do after? Like, if you go and you kill a gem, like, what do you? I mean, it's not dead. Like, it was still in a gem. So what was?
So their plan with that one was, I don't know specifically with the desert pillow thing. I don't know if they wanted to bubble that, but usually when it's like a corrupted gem, they bubble it.
Okay.
And when they bubble it, it like teleports to like the heart room. I would say there's like a heart to the temple room. Where all the bubbled corrupted gems are.
Oh, yeah, see, we do see that. There's an episode where we do see that. So.
Yeah, so I think they're just trying to rid the earth right now of corrupted gems. Okay. So when they kill them, per se, or poof them, then they just go in a bubble.
Poof them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Poop
Got
them.
It. I do want to say the art with that episode, as the desert castle thing was being built, and the desert glass was rebuilding its castle. The color palette for that.
Stupid.
That's the almost direct quote from that show. The color palette for that was awesome. Like, I loved it. I thought that was super cool.
Limited.
Yeah, it felt like you were in the middle of a sandstorm.
It did.
And I love that. I think I really felt transported to that moment. So that was cool. Lion is really cool so far. I'm just saying, like, I want one.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I thought when I watched it.
And then episode 11, Meat Beat Mania. First of all, I love, we talked about in the first episode, and I can tell this is going to be a reoccurring theme, is video games. And I love the video game aspect. Excuse me, I love the video game aspect. There was just a bunch of shout outs to different video games that I really liked. That was probably the coolest part. It was kind of a funny episode. But other than it being funny, I don't know if there was, there was actually something really important in this episode. This was the first time that we saw that Garnet has 3 eyes.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it is. It's, the first time that you see it.
Oh.
Yeah, so
that you see it.
That you see it, the third eye.
Child.
So then I sit through these 3 episodes that I'm like, okay, when is something gonna happen?
Yeah.
Boom, episode 12 happens.
Oh, really? What happens? Tell me more.
Dude, I can't wait. This is the first mention of fusion, I believe.
It is?
I think so. So this is...
was this the goat one?
This is oh my god, the goat. I was so shocked. I wasn't ready. Steven Jr. Dude, I literally... I got tears in my eyes thinking about my reaction to that because it was so funny.
It just gets yeeted into the mouth of that bird.
I know, I was so shocked. I was not expecting that, and I literally, the first time I've had an outward reaction of shock to this show, I was like, no, not the goat. The goat was my favorite character so far, and he was gone. I barely got to know him.
Yep.
But this is the first appearance also of Opal, which is a fusion.
She is probably my favorite fusion, by the way.
Obviously I'm only 12 episodes in, so I have a long ways to go.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really cool. Everything about that episode was so awesome. It felt like it was the first episode that was really progressing the plot and the characters, and it brought in this cool idea of fusion. It brought in a great character, at least I think anyways, with Opal. Obviously you're in agreement with that. And one of the things me and you both love is music and shows. I just want to say the music in that episode is
great,
top tier. Like, I was like, I need to go get the soundtrack for the show.
Yeah,
it's so good. So 12, phenomenal. I love that episode. If every episode was like that, we
wouldn't have hot dogs.
We wouldn't have hot dogs.
Kill me.
I mean, I could probably talk about that episode all day. It was so good. The storyboarding was phenomenal. Like I said, the goat thing just took me off guard. It was funny also, and he survived at the end, so that's always good.
And I feel like that episode is one episode where Pearl is kind of, just her regular Pearl self, like really annoying and like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. But it meshed well with Amethyst because they do end up fusing to save Steven. They all come together at the end of the day, which I felt was a nice change for Pearl.
Yeah, and that's one of the things me and you have talked about. And look, I know Pearl's a very popular character. And one of my quests, so to say, for this show is to figure out the love for Pearl, because the first couple episodes, me and you both were like, I just don't get it. It's just not our type of character. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was really helpful Episode 12 was for getting me to appreciate Pearl a lot more as a character. But yeah, episode 12 out of the first 16 episodes is hands down the best episode. I'm just throwing it out there. It is the best episode. It had everything that I could ask for in an episode of Steven Universe. It had something new and exciting with the fusion. The music was just so good for a Saturday morning cartoon. Like, that is such good music. It was funny. The action was so good. There was that sense of, like, what's going to happen next. Great episode. Like, 10 out of 10 episode. Would watch again.
I'm glad you finally have a favorite episode. It only took 12, but we're getting there.
We're getting there. Then comes episode 13.
Ooh.
The first thing I wrote down for this episode, disappointing after the last episode. So, It kind of is. Like, you go from such a great episode that was phenomenal. It moved the story forward. It had everything that I could ask for, like I said, and then it went right back into the same routine that the other episodes had been going through.
Well, did it take place at Beach City?
All these episodes, more or less, have taken place. There's only a couple that haven't taken place at Beach City. That's what I was going to ask about, is the Beach City episodes. So
those are like, usually known as filler,
okay.
Usually. At least within the fandom.
That makes sense. Steven still is not my character.
I remember you texting me throughout the week, and you're like, is Steven okay? Like, is there something more to him? Like, I don't know.
I really don't. Like, he's such a... He's just... I get what they're trying to do with Steven. Like, they want him to be relatable to the 13-year-old boy, or girl, or whatever, 13-year-old human being. But I'm not 13 years old, and I love so many other things so far about Steven Universe that I hate, that my least favorite thing is Steven. Like, I would rather watch Pearl for 6 episodes than watch Steven for 6 episodes.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm at with Steven at this point, and I really hope that changes.
That's kind of how I felt. I didn't realize that I didn't really like Steven. And I was like, there's something just off about this show so far, when I first got into it. And I realized it's Steven.
Yeah, he's very...
You can't really relate to him that well. He's just like a shell of a human.
That's really savage criticism of Steven. I think I kind of agree. I think they made him kind of a blank slate so far. I believe that's going to change. Like,
and I'm not knocking like the character or the voice actor, because like he does an amazing job.
I love the voice acting for the show. Like, yeah. I couldn't say enough, especially Steven's voice. I couldn't say enough good things for sure.
But like dialogue and plot wise, for Steven's character, dumb. Yeah, it's just.
I don't like dumb characters.
That ain't it, G.
I just don't like characters that my note exactly is awkward and embarrassing. To me, Steven is awkward and embarrassing. It's that secondhand embarrassment from watching a character that's that awkward. I just am not a fan of that. So
it makes sense, but there's just too much of it.
Yeah, exactly. If it was like, I don't know. Like, we talked about this in the last episode about how at 13 we do a lot of dumb stuff and we don't understand consequences and we don't understand danger, but I don't want to have to feel awkward watching this character.
That's so savage.
And Steven just makes me feel awkward, and I don't like that with
yeah.
And I don't want a main character though that's perfect either. I want that balance, and it just
But you don't want them to be constantly stuck.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really hoping that Steven evolves into the character that I know he can be, if that makes sense. In episode 14, another filler episode, so...
Oh, I see you have nothing written down.
I have literally one note, Moss episode, no gems, no plot progression.
Yeah.
It's literally a Lars episode. There's a couple of Lars episodes.
But in that one, we realized that the Moss is almost sentient.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
And it was put there. I don't know if they tell you this.
No, yeah, it was put there. Well, I don't know if it was put there, but it was taken care of by Steven's mom.
Yeah, Rose Quartz.
That was what kind of like his whole motivation around it was that, which is I think is kind of interesting because we're starting to understand how Steven views his mom at present. He definitely, because he never really got to know her, still sees her, and I think everyone sees their most people anyways, see their moms as someone who is good and holy in a way, and and he's surrounded by so much positive stuff about his mom, which is really cool. And then so when he knows that something was precious to her, my mom thought it was precious and she was a great person, great gem, whatever, lack of a better term. So it must be an important thing to the universe, and I'm going to take care of it too. So I will say that from a progression standpoint, if there is anything there, it reaffirms the fact that Steven really wants to connect with his mom in some way, because he never had that chance, and he's connecting with her by taking care of things that matter to her.
Yeah, definitely.
Other than that, I would never watch that episode. I feel like I feel so bad. I feel like I'm just destroying the show, and it's not that. It's the frustration of seeing the potential when you have stuff like episode 12, and then you have absolutely nothing happen.
No, completely
for a couple of episodes. The next episode was the Onion episode. And there was one line that I had to write down because it made me laugh. Steven was talking to his dad, and he said, "I lost something precious," and his dad's immediate response was, "Your innocence?"
Oh my god.
I had to pause it. I was laughing so hard. I couldn't believe they threw that in there. That was a great... I don't even think Steven got the joke. Onion is... Onion's character design reminds me of a 1950s company mascot.
He
so
does.
I love it. If I get a Steven Universe tattoo, I told Isaac this. Number one, I'm getting a Haikyuu tattoo no matter what. If we make it through this podcast and we're successful with it, I'm getting a Steven Universe tattoo. I think I'm going to get a tattoo of Onion. I think so. I love seeing you cringe over that. But we'll see. Hey, it's
Onion
15.
is one of my favorites too. But like,
he's so creepy.
He is.
Like,
and the flames that go up in his eyes, you're like, what is going on?
This episode was so bizarre. And one of the things we talked about in the last episode of this podcast with Steven Universe was that there is this like bizarreness to Steven Universe and like an edge and a darkness in a way. And that's what this episode felt like in a way. Like, it felt like I was like, this is coming from someone that had a really weird day, and this came out of it. Like,
may or may not be on drugs.
It definitely felt like drugs were involved. I mean, drugs had to be involved to create the Onion character to begin with. So I don't know which child that reminded them of when they created that character, but that was and it's just unfortunate. So there's 3 episodes there that I just really felt like weren't necessary. And then we got episode 16. And in episode 16, Steven wants to learn how to sword fight. So this was a great Pearl episode, by the way. Pearl decides that she's going to teach him, and in the midst of this, she creates a like hologram version of herself. Oh yeah, which is interesting. So is this like one of her like abilities? This is one of her abilities, is to create like holograms. Yeah. And can it be just of herself? Or?
Pearls are very in tune with their gem, I guess. They can like create holograms. They can store things in it. Whereas other gems might have like 1 or 2 abilities. I feel like they're more versatile.
Okay. Yeah, and I thought that was really cool because that was a new side to her, and I thought it was cool that. You know, one of the things we've talked about with Pearl is that she's very motherly, like mother hen. We said helicopter parent last episode.
Apache.
This kind of showed that she does want Steven to grow and learn new things, even if there is some danger to it. Yeah. But she wants him to do it right. Mm-hmm. So I liked that aspect with her. I was totally shocked, though, when she was distracted and got stabbed by hologram Pearl. This wasn't like some like she got stabbed off screen. Like, they showed the sword going through her, and I was like, oh my god, this is nuts. I was just shook. I was like, oh my god, because I didn't, at this point I haven't, episode 16, I hadn't quite understood the whole poofing or whatever it is, being poofed. I didn't know about any of that stuff, so I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Like,
Does she end up poofing?
Yeah, well, I guess so, because she goes back into her gem.
Oh, she finally loses that, like, dumb little bandana thing she has around her waist. I don't know what the heck they were trying to do with that.
They decided it was a bad idea, and they're like, just kill her. If we kill her, we can get rid of it. So this was the first episode that brought about that kind of regenerating aspect of gems. Mm-hmm. And then the hologram Pearl just kind of keeps wanting to fight. It just
She's like, I will kill everyone.
Yeah. She's just following everyone around, like, activate duel mode, and it's like, or whatever it is she says, and I'm like, yo, go home. Like, you've been deactivated. No one wants to play with you right now. But then we were given one of the best fight scenes so far in the first 16 episodes, which is surprising to say, but Steven versus Hollow Pearl was really cool. Like, the choreography of that was so good. I loved the storyboarding for it. I loved the action shots that they had. They really created this sense of movement, which I know that sounds weird to people maybe that don't watch a lot of cartoons, but I know me and you've watched more than enough cartoons to say that there is a difference between animating something moving and having a sense of movement.
Yeah.
And
that's why storyboarding is so important.
it is, and so many people overlook it. You know, they don't understand how big it is when you're doing an action show like this to have those correct shots laid out. So when they go to animate it, it comes out so
Can
good.
I say something real quickly about the storyboarding?
Yeah, no, please do.
So, in Steven Universe, I know it's not just Rebecca Sugar and some other people. It's like there's different groups of people that will make an episode or storyboard an episode. So sometimes you'll get a different art style slightly, or like the characters are kind of off model, but that only happens like later on in the show. But I'm just saying, like, sometimes the storyboarding isn't always there, but when it is, it's like phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think that episode 16 is an example of it being phenomenal. Yeah. I really, every bit about that episode, going back all the way to Pearl fighting Hollow Pearl and Pearl being stabbed, and like the way they framed those shots, just kind of created that sense of shock. And
the room they're in, like the
I love that. That was thing. So cool. And me and you talk about atmosphere and background all the time and stuff, and they nailed it with that as well.
And it was more foreshadowing too for what's to come.
That's the one thing we've talked about, is that the show has foreshadowing in surprising spots that you're not expecting, and
especially the backgrounds. Yeah,
and there was the last episode we were talking about the mural that, like, you were like, that tells you the whole show right there. Like, literally. That's it. So it's a good thing that I don't know what's going on. Otherwise I'd be like, well, thanks for spoiling the show. Which shows you that they had the stuff in place, but as we've talked about, sometimes when it comes to producing a show, you don't get that chance. You know, you don't get the chance to go
balls deep. Sponsored by Balls. Just kidding. Wish we were. Anyways.
But I just want to say, episode 16 was phenomenal. Episode 12 was phenomenal. Yeah.
It's just sad you have to wait like 5 episodes to get another good episode.
It sucks, you know, but when you get the good episodes, I see the potential, and I see why people are such big fans. So, yeah, that kind of wraps up my thoughts on like, I see where it's going. I'm getting a little more hyped, because I would have to say that 12 and 16 already brought so much more to the table than the first 8 episodes, that I think that I'm getting close to where it's going to be a constant rush of great episodes. Yeah. So, yep, that was Steven Universe for me this past week.
Okay. And so for Haikyuu.
Haikyuu.
Now, let me preface this by saying, again, towards the beginning of my watch, after the first 4 episodes, I still wouldn't watch this unless we were doing a podcast. But that quickly changed after the fact. After, like, 4 episodes? So episode 5, I believe it's called First Time Jitters. I could be wrong, because the episode titles on Hulu are a bit different. That's where I watch it. So my first thing I like the target site. Like, when Kageyama he's trying to see where to hit on the other side of the net, he like has this target site. Yeah. And he just knows where to shoot it, and it goes instantly right there every single time. So I thought that was pretty cool. Especially because he's kind of teaching, like, Hinata, like, don't always rely on just, like, hitting the ball. Like, you have to know where you're hitting it.
There has to be some sort of strategy.
Yeah, you can't just, like, oh, I can't say that.
You can't just hit the balls.
Another note, Tanaka is crazy. Gets called out.
Yeah, Tanaka is crazy. You know, you mentioned something. I don't know if this is applicable to these 4 episodes you're about to know. Okay.
We'll get to that later, but okay. And then literally right after I write that, I just hear "suck it, nerd," and I go back and I forget who's saying it now, but it was like someone talking to Tanaka again. Everyone's just coming after him in this episode. I don't know why.
Suck it, nerd. My favorite insult.
And then imagery. Again, I should have wrote down. I just forgot what the imagery was, but I'm sure it was amazing, like as it always is. Probably. And then they got new jackets, and this is like the first time or like second time I hear the girl that's part of their team talk. I don't know her name still. Yeah, the manager, Kyoko.
Kyoko. You're gonna hear it a lot eventually because a lot of guys like Kyoko, so you're gonna hear. That didn't come out too good. Anyways.
So she like gives them new jackets and finally talks, and they're like creaming over the jackets and her.
You added that real quick. You're like in her.
And then I just got this sense that they were united.
Yeah.
Like I just keep getting this sense of like, wow, this is a solid team. Like they're gonna do amazing. And then they had their first practice game.
Who did they played against the neighborhood? No, they played against Seijo, Aoba Josai.
Yeah.
Ooh, you get used to them. Get used to them. That's all I'm gonna say.
They're the only team I've seen so far that's like, I don't know how I feel about them. Like they probably are gonna destroy them. I also put Tadashi as dumb.
Half the fandom like loses their shit over this. Yeah,
who's Tadashi again?
It's Yamaguchi, guy with the number 12.
Christy Yamaguchi.
With the he's got acne. A lot of people think it's freckles, but it's acne. Number 12.
Is he the one that follows Suki around?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why.
Suki's boyfriend.
That's why, because I haven't really heard him talk even till this day.
He's very he's at present, I will say he has, like everyone has great character development, but at present he is Suki's shadow.
Yeah, I get that sense, like he's the only character that just kind of stays behind a person. Hinata's paranoid what's new. Like happens literally every episode, gets worse and worse.
Yeah, he's a very high-strung individual. Like lots of anxiety. He probably has a lot of nightmares.
Yeah.
Has to go to the bathroom a lot.
And then my last note for episode 5 was Busworm.
Animation when he threw up. Yeah.
This is another thing with the animation that I love is like they don't take themselves too seriously in some parts. They can just go however, like whichever animation direction they want. So I thought that was really cool how the bus just kind of like almost psychedelically moves.
Once again, drugs are involved.
Yeah. But that's all I had for episode 5. I couldn't really remember anything too remarkable other than just more development between Kage and Hinata.
Yeah, they got to become that, that duo that everyone wants them to be. So there's going to be a lot of that for sure.
Episode 6, I believe it's called Interesting Team. Again, Hulu doesn't know.
Yeah, you should really watch it on High Dive. If you're listening to this, guys, High Dive. Use High Dive.
So my first note is the team is struggling to get along, and then understandably. Because I think at this point, everyone just has their own struggles. Mm-hmm. And they're still learning to play with each other, especially knowing that Hinata and Kage have their own thing going on. Mm-hmm. I think they're still learning how to incorporate that into the whole team and not just them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also, intro is still lit. And I put, come on, come on, come on. It's so good. But then you told me it was going to change in a few episodes. And I was
it does change in a few. You will have 2 openings this season, 2 openings the second season, and 1 opening for the third season.
Well, I'm excited to see or hear other intros. But that one right now is really amazing.
The one thing I will say about intros, and the next time you watch it, pay attention. The intros are a phenomenal example of storyboarding and art direction.
I literally have that written
do you?
down. Like, I think it's like episode 9.
Anyways.
Like, yeah.
So we'll talk about that in the next episode, I guess.
Hinata and Tanaka have the best banter at this point. Yeah. Super funny. Because I'm trying to pinpoint what kind of person Hinata is. And I don't really know. He's like happy-go-lucky, but then he's also like paranoid. I don't know.
He's very much, like I said, like a high-energy person. And
I get this sense of innocence, which I don't know how I feel about him being added to the rest of the team, because the rest of the team is like, we're gonna rip you to shreds.
They definitely, the rest of the team, like your first impression of them, and you can tell that it is with a lot of other people on the show, is it's like they see them and they're like, these guys are delinquents.
Yeah.
These guys are here to start a fight. And then in the middle of that, you have the sun. like a ball of sunshine.
Literally.
Just radiating warmth and positive energy and positive vibes.
Yeah.
So it is very,
Positive vibes only from this episode. Oh my god. Literally the next note. Love the vibe of the backgrounds. I think at this point they finally leave the volleyball
Yeah,
court
they're on their way to Seijo in this episode, yeah.
And I think they even stop. I don't know if it's. I think it's this episode. They stop and get food from Yukai. He's like working the convenience or like a shop or something.
As someone who went to a school where there was only one convenience store within walking distance, that is the most relatable thing from my high school. Like, oh yeah, I remember stopping at the convenience store to grab food too.
I put rival team as my favorite. I don't know why I put that, but I guess at that point, I don't know. A lot of my notes are like, I think one thing, and then the next minute, it's like completely changes. Like, you never know with this show, I feel like.
A lot happens really fast.
And then I think the rivals... Who's the main character on the rival team? He has like that crazy hair. All the girls love him.
This is the character that I can't wait for you to get into. Oikawa.
Yeah, I don't know how to say that.
Oikawa.
Oikawa. I think he says, "We'll have your head."
Yeah, he's
And my mind went straight to the gutter there, and I was like, "Yep." No.
Yeah, get ready for the gutter jokes. Me and Isaac both have the sense of humor of 12-year-olds, so get ready for that.
Suki gets along with team only when they're being dicks.
Yeah, him and Tanaka like pull up into that school, and they're like trash talking and everything.
They are the best trash talkers together.
Yep.
But most of the time it's just Suki, so trash. Also, one of my favorite quotes thus far, "They're huge" by Hinata. He literally says, "They're huge." And I'm just like, again, I should probably keep watching the show.
Get ready for more.
Also, there's another character on that team. What's it called? Seijo?
Seijo. Seijo is what they have two names, Seijo or Aoba Josai.
So that team, there's a character, I think it's Tanaka, that calls him Onion Head or Onion Top.
Onion Top.
And I'm like, okay, now I see it. And that's all I'm going to refer to that character as from now on.
Well, we were talking about it before we started recording this episode, and I actually blanked on his name, because that's literally what I remember him as. I literally can't remember his name anymore. So, yeah, you're not wrong with that assessment.
Also, Hinata has poop problems and anxiety. Literally every other episode, he's running to the bathroom.
And he always runs into someone in the bathroom.
Yeah, and it's always the other team.
Yep.
Always.
Every time.
And then when he gets back, Kageyama's like, "You trash." And then I also, right after this is probably because Kageyama got after Hinata for being anxious, I put, "I'm scared." Because I think there's this moment where it, like, the animation gets that, like, small chibi, but then it, like, zooms out, and there's, like, this darkness around him, and he's, like, looking down at Hinata, and Hinata's just like, okay, I'm gonna die.
I think one of the things that's interesting about their dynamic is they're both very intense characters.
Very.
But it's different. How they take that intensity is totally opposite.
Yeah.
You know, Kageyama is very very strict and stoic in a way. You know, he's not bouncing off the walls, he's not showing, and you're gonna see as you see more, like, he's kind of a dork, but he has a very cool aura about him. When people see him, they think, wow, he's a really cool character. And that's one of the things me and Isaac have talked about, doing a character episode, because we have so much to talk about with characters, and we'll talk about that aspect of Kageyama. It's one of the things I really like about Kageyama. We'll talk about that when we get to that episode.
I mean, I wish I could see, I see he's cool, I'm just not, I don't see it for me.
No,
so far.
No, but I don't think you'll ever like Kageyama. I don't, well, not like, but I mean, I don't think
he'll be like a favorite of mine.
I don't think so.
I can appreciate him now.
Good. That's the only thing I would say with any character in Haikyuu, whether you like them or not. Mm-hmm. Figure out what's great about them, because there is such great development with all these different characters. But yeah, we'll have to talk more about, like, the layers of Kageyama in a different episode. That's a whole other story. Especially now that Oikawa's in the mix, and there's just a lot to go into.
I forgot to mention that Oikawa, for some reason, has this weird relationship with Kageyama. I can't remember what that was about, but everyone was, like, just looking at them interact, and it was, like, the most intense thing. Also, the CROWS' chaotic energy serves them well.
It does. That's their whole attack. They're very
off the wall.
They're very off the wall, and and you're gonna see that a lot as the show progresses. That's their big weapon, is their unpredictability.
Right. And then I think Tanaka, again, just taking jabs at Suki, and he just calls him Four Eyes. So I put Suki equals Four Eyes from now on. Episode 7, versus the Great King. I knew this was going to be an episode about Kageyama because they call him the king of the court. Tanaka's pissed because Hawekawa gets all the ladies.
You don't know how to say this dude's name at all. Oikawa.
Thank
you.
Tanaka's pissed at him because he gets all the ladies.
Yep.
And Tanaka wants all of them. I ended up just calling him Kawa.
Kawa. So the episode title, Great King, that's his nickname.
Oh.
Yeah, so that comes from Shoyo because he sees if Kageyama, because here's their relationship. So Kageyama is the king of the court. Well, his senpai, when he was in middle school, so the one that he learned a lot from, the one that he learned so much, quote unquote, learned so much about volleyball from, was Oikawa.
That makes sense.
I
can see that now.
Once you get further in and you start to understand the differences between the two characters, and it ties into the theme that Haikyuu has of great work versus great talent, and you get to learn more about both those characters, you're going to see why Oikawa is considered to be one of the best characters in anime history. Like, he's so well done. So I don't expect... When I first was introduced to that character... that first episode, I was like, I don't like I know everyone's met one of these guys before. We know everything this character's about. We don't like him. That's the assumption that I'm actually kind of glad I can tell you have that assumption about him. So when they start to take the layers,
vibe, and I'm like, well,
this
is
a different type,
a deep hatred.
So yeah, you'll learn more about him. So you can always just call him the Great King if you don't like saying Oikawa, because I'll know who you're talking about at least.
I put. Great King is a god player.
He's very good.
And
he's not as good as some other people, though.
The Karasuno CROWS were like, okay, we need to do something because this guy's going to beat us later on. And then I put intense game changer. Again, I wish I wrote down what happened, but I watched these like earlier in the week and I can't remember for the life of me what happened. I just know something happened. Kageyama found the right team. So that's another thing. One moment he's like getting mad, the other moment he's like united with them.
Yeah, he's very immature.
He's very in and out.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how I feel about that with his character because they need him more than anyone on that team, I feel like. The crackhead is almost here. And then I put, they're talking about how they need a Libro. He got banned. I don't know why I wrote that. He got banned.
Yeah, remember he got banned from
the team.
Yeah, he got banned from club activities. He was suspended for a week and got banned from club activities for a month.
And then I put crackhead returns already gets dissed.
I love how you call him the crackhead.
I can't see him. Well, now I can see him as someone else, but from the beginning. Episode 8 is called Who is Called Ace. I like how they're just like, oh yeah, you haven't met him yet?
You're like, how would I have met him?
Yeah, and I think that was Noya saying it. Noya likes fashion.
And girls. And being cool.
Oh yeah, they have this like thing about him. They're like, man, you're so cool. Like, they can't ever do wrong. Like, he can't ever do wrong, They can't call him out on anything.
Yep.
And I don't get it. Like, he's such a shrimpy guy. Nothing wrong with that, but like, I see no coolness in him, really.
I think that's part of his character. He is someone who is so confident in who he is. That's true. And I think that's where, like, when you're a teenager and if you can have that true confidence, it's very rare. Mm-hmm. And I think for a lot of, everyone else on the team, they don't really have that. Like, they're all very, they're aware of their flaws and they're aware that they're not perfect individuals.
Especially Hinata.
Hinata, to me, I think Hinata is a character who loves someone like Nishinoya because Nishinoya is short like him, obviously, but he owns it. in a way. Like, you don't need, like, no one would ever go to Noya and tell him that he's short, but, like, he has found a way to be really useful with that, and everything that he does, he just finds a way to make it sound like it's the coolest thing ever, and I think that's kind of a rare thing to see, so he's very drawn to that.
I mean, Nishinoya is way smaller than Hinata, and
like
somehow...
a couple inches, yeah.
Somehow... Hinata's always the one getting made fun of for his height.
I think that has a lot to do with their positions. Because,
upperclassmen and everything.
Yeah, well, that, and I mean on the volleyball court, too. Nishinoya is a libero, which makes sense if you're 5'2".
Yeah.
Hinata's a middle blocker, which doesn't make a lot of sense if you're 5'4",
I just kind of call him the decoy, because that's really what he is. I feel like you guys are giant. I can't remember if Hinata or Noya says that, but I think it's Hinata again.
It's gotta be. Hinata's obsessed with height. It has to be.
And then I put Nishinoya knows his place very good for Karasuno. Because at this point, they're very chaotic. They, for the most part, know their place. But again, they're still learning to play with each other on the team.
Well, especially when you have so many fresh faces as part of your starting lineup.
Yeah. Like first years.
Yeah.
And then I put, this ace guy must be a god. Because they were talking nonstop about him.
I mean, he looks like Jesus. So
Literally.
There's an entire audio play where he is forced to dress up as Jesus for Christmas.
But they're, like, talking about him, and I've never seen his face. Like, I don't...
Yeah, you don't. You've never seen him.
I've never seen him play. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, they kind of hype him up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of same with Nishinoya, but not as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put, it's cool watching Hinata fit in with everyone, because at this point, he's, like, going off on his own, talking to Noya, and they're becoming more friends than just, like, rivals. Because at first, Hinata was, like, scared of him. I feel like, because it's another short guy coming into the team. And then I put literally laughing. I forget what I was laughing at. Dang it, I should have written it down.
Isaac's not good at note-taking, apparently. This is what happens when we watch stuff so early.
Yeah. And then I put, Hinata's character growth is insane. Not much to that other than he's just growing as a character.
Yep, that's about all you need to say.
Learning to work as a team and a family. I feel like they're super close now. They're not just a team. They have like this deeper bond. And then I put Ace in his feels.
His feels? I think that, I mean, it's kind of... I think what's interesting about Asahi, who's the ace, is they hype him up so much and then immediately dive into... the emotional aspect of Asahi and like his journey to why he's not playing volleyball. So I think that's kind of a weird whiplash in a way. It's one of the things I appreciate about Haikyuu though, is that they do that. They do this, here comes this character, and then they throw in the what makes them not perfect rather than focusing on what makes them so great. So
which makes you want to know more about the character.
Exactly.
So that's all I have for the first 8 episodes. Again, I just wasn't really into it yet, but the next episode you'll know that I actually got into a little bit more, so that's what I have to say on Haikyuu.
I mean, when it comes to Haikyuu, I would agree with you on that. I think that, I mean, I absolutely love the show to death, and it's one of my favorites, but I am not here to tell you that the beginning of Haikyuu is easy to get into. It is, if you're not used to that kind of storytelling, it kind of pulls you in a lot of directions. It's kind of slow. The team's not built yet. Once the team gets built, it's like having your car put together. Now you can go places. Before that, you're just running around trying to find all the pieces you need.
Exactly.
And I get that that's a storytelling type where you slowly bring the crew in together, and then that you can kind of individually tell their stories. But then in the process of doing that, there was actually... did they play the game against the... No, they haven't yet. Okay, I can't talk about that. But I just want to say that they focus on these characters, which is great, but there's 12 people on the team. And there's 3 second years who you don't even... I know you don't know their names.
I've probably seen them once.
You couldn't even
There's
point them
one
out.
with long hair. Looks like a bowl cut. I don't even know his name.
What?
See? You don't even know.
What are you talking? He doesn't have a bowl... No one has a bowl cut on that team.
I don't know. It's just...
He's like a traditional... whatever. Moral of the story, I think you're talking about Enoshida. And Enoshida, once you get to his story in season 2, you're going to like the guy. And his English voice actor nails those scenes. And I mean, that's a long ways away in this podcast. I can't wait to get to that episode, though, just to watch it with you. But I think that's the flaw that Haikyuu has, is that, like, that was my thing, is I kept sitting there going, okay, you're adding all these characters, but what about these other guys that haven't even said... Like, one guy, Kinoshita, the only line he's said so far is, put your clothes back on. Like, that's it. That's his whole character right now.
Even Sugawara, I'm like, I need to know more.
Yeah, he's kind of left in those first 8 episodes. They don't really dive into him, like, really at all.
They don't even dive into Tanaka, but he's just there
there
a lot of lines. Which is fine, because he's like comedic relief, which you don't really need, because it's just kind of like a comedy entertainment for the most part in the beginning, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's not a bad show by any means.
I mean, I know it's not.
I just want to say that I'm just not used to, like you said, the storytelling. But I'm starting to get more and more into it, which I'm excited about, because I want to know more and want to get into it a lot more.
I think that me and you then are kind of at the same place with this first little bit here, with me 16 and you 8. Like, we're both kind of like, we see where it's going, we see the potential, we know what it can do, but right now it's just, when is it going to get there? Yeah. Like, that's kind of like, we're kind of anxious about that. I think that's a fair assessment between both shows, for sure.
Agreed.
Cool. Awesome. Well, then I guess we'll see you guys on the next episode. We won't see you. And you won't see us. I think I did this in the first episode too. If not, I did it in a different podcast. Anyways, listen to us.
Listen, please. We need it.
In the next episode, where we're going to talk about Steven Universe episodes 17 through 24.
And for Haikyuu, episode 9 through 12.
And yeah, why don't you guys hit us up? You can add us on Twitter at Nonessential Media, so at Nonessential M. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all those cool places. Let us know what you guys are thinking about the beginning of these shows, or if you've seen them before, what your first impressions were, or your favorite characters, or whatever you want to talk about.
What are your favorite themes? What do you like about the show so far?
Ooh, that's a good topic. Yes, I like that one. Yes!
Yes!
Anyways, bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, it's Jackie.
And Isaac.
From Nonessential Media.
We just want to thank you guys so much for listening, and if you'd like, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel or our Patreon.
And we want to hear from you guys. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you're watching along with us and what your thoughts are.
You can find us on Twitter at Nonessential M.
We're on Facebook as Nonessential Media.
We're also on Instagram at Nonessential Media.
Check out our website, nonessentialmedia.com.
So check us out.
Thanks again for listening. We truly appreciate every single one of you.
See you guys next Saturday for a new episode of Beach City CROWS. Bye. Skibbly babbly bap.